Did your Chase banker recently break up with you? Are you having a problem submitting client applications at Chase through your RM and now you're worried about losing the golden goose? Chase has been the consistent big wins for funding coaches for the past couple years now, but recently the RM department is starting to get shut down. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through exactly what happened, why it happened, and how to get around it with our new strategy so you can still get your clients over $100,000 just at Chase. So recently, inside of the Chase internal department of risk mitigation, they've been noticing a huge uptick in delinquencies, right? Overall, right now in the United States, we're at the highest rate of credit card delinquencies, meaning late payments, charge-offs, and sending payments or accounts to collections, and we're at the highest rate in the past 14 years right now. And Chase, as we've already talked about, is notorious for giving these really big limits. So that means that a lot of your potential clients or past clients or people that you're considering working with, a lot of people are basically defaulting at Chase. So now Chase is kind of blaming their RM department, and that's why they're shutting it down. So recently, you might have noticed that some of your relationship managers have been geo-locked, meaning that if you had a client in the state of Arizona, well, your RM that lived and worked in the state of Florida can no longer help anyone outside of the state of Florida. So that was a problem a couple months ago, and then more recently, now we've gotten news that they're shutting it down altogether. I recently just spoke with my business banker, and he said that starting July 1st, Chase bankers will no longer get credit for submitting business credit card applications, and they can no longer help with out-of-state. So we already noticed the out-of-state problem, but now they're not going to get credit for submitting applications. So they still in some cases can't help you submit through DocuSign, which still can be good because it can push it to the internal underwriting department. But overall, we're seeing that some bankers are now even asking for money to submit applications. I've never personally paid a banker to submit an application. I know of some contacts of mine that actually do that to help their clients, but that's basically becoming a problem now, right? Because again, Chase has been the golden goose. We've been able to get basically almost 100% approvals for $50,000 for clients. And that's huge, right? Because it's usually the bank that we start with. We get a big $50K win, and then we can double back and get an extra $30,000. That's for someone that's got a brand new LLC, pretty good overall data points, and with the right deposit and the actual application strategies. But if you have a really strong credit profile as well with a good client that has a strong borrower profile, you could actually get $75K on the 2 0% cards at Chase. So basically on the lower conservative end, we've been able to get $80,000. On the higher end, we were getting up to $150K. So you can probably imagine how nervous we became, how nervous you must be right now with what's going on at Chase, right? So that's kind of the issue right now. It's mostly because of macro conditions. We're at highest rates of delinquency rates right now. The Chase Bank has been giving out really big limits. They're kind of blaming their business bankers on it. So that's why they're shutting this whole RM process down, basically. But thankfully, we've actually found a process to still get our clients over $80,000 to $120,000, even without working with relationship managers. So that's what I'm going to dive into right now. So when it comes to the new Chase application right here, the first thing we're going to do is first talk about the fact that your client needs to have a very good personal credit profile. Okay, that's always going to be important whenever you're applying for any business credit card application or business line of credit. So you want your client to have low utilization, below 30% on every single credit card accounts. You want them to have at least 4 personal primary accounts. You want them to have low inquiries. So once you have 3 inquiries, you're basically maxed out. So ideally below 2 on every single bank. Chase is going to pull most likely experience, so get that as low as possible. You want to have no negative items at all, so no late payments, no charge-offs, no collections, and please no bankruptcies. And then finally, you want to have at least 1 personal credit card with a 10K plus limit, and that can be an authorized user account. So if you can check off all those boxes, you can at least know for a fact that the personal credit profile is strong. And then for the business LLC setup, you want your client to have one that is going to be in ideally their home state. Just makes it a lot easier. So if it's a newer LLC, make sure it's incorporated in their home state. If it's an aged corporation or an older corporation, make sure your foreign file back in your home state. It just makes it a lot easier. Then you want to be in a low risk industry, something like consulting or marketing. You want to have a low risk name as well. Don't have anything in it that says capital or crypto or real estate or trucking, okay? Just basic name that doesn't really mention anything, or it can just say marketing or consulting. And then you want it to be having the basic business setup, just like having a professional email and a basic website. So if we can check off all those boxes, now we can start the actual new Chase strategy application process. So with that in mind, we'll start. So whenever it comes to Chase, we've always started with the establishment of the relationship. So that worked. It was important when we were doing it through the relationship managers, but now we're still doing it through this process as well. So we're establishing the relationship by opening up a business checking account with this LLC that we'll be using. We're going to open the checking account, deposit at least $5,000 in the checking account, and then wait 5 business days. That's extremely important. Without doing this, you can still get some wins, but you're never gonna get as much funding as you could have if you didn't make the deposit. And if your client can't afford right now to deposit $5,000, go for a no checking account bank first, such as Citizens Bank, such as Truist, Elon Financial, any one of these that will allow you to apply without even having a checking account. Once you have it, you can then liquidate the funds and deposit them inside of the Chase Bank. So once we made the deposit, we've waited 5 business days. Now we're going to apply directly online. Okay, so we don't actually need the RMs anymore. They've been great. We can thank them for that. But now if they're getting shut down, we have to find workarounds anyways. So that's why now in this case, we're going to apply directly online. And so we're going to apply for the Chase Business Inc. Cash. Okay, so you still need that good borrower profile. We are going to do it online. We're going to do the Chase Inc. Cash over the Unlimited first because we're seeing about 10% higher approvals with the cash, okay? And so with that in mind, we're hoping to basically shoot for around 30 to 50K with the first card, all right? With a good profile, with a good deposit, that's what we can expect. So of course, it's not the guaranteed 50K to maybe 70K with a good RM contact, everything else put together, but that's still pretty solid, all right? So we're gonna go for $30,000 to $50,000 with this first approval, right? But I did tell you we're gonna get closer to 100K, all right? So that's like the second part right here. So if you have a good profile, we're basically shooting for at least $30,000 to $50,000. If it's not extremely optimized, you might expect to get somewhere around $20,000 to $30,000, okay? So depending on how the first application went, if you're getting over 50K approved, that means the bank is very receptive to your client's borrower profile and they're ready for the next one. So if you're over 30K approved, we're gonna apply directly for this next credit card. Otherwise, if it's below 30,000, you wanna wait about 30 days before submitting the next one. So what is the next one? We're going to apply for the Chase Inc. Preferred Card. Okay, so you might be wondering, why would we do this? This is not a 0% card. What's the real benefit, right? We love applying for Chase not only because of the high limits, but they're always 0% for 12 months, which can really help you and your clients. So the Chase Inc. Preferred is not a 0% card, but because it's not a 0% card, Chase Bank is expecting to make a lot of money on interest, all right? So because of that expectation, they tend to give really big limits, which is huge for us. So if you go and follow this sequence, okay, if you have the right data points, you're applying correctly, and you do everything else that I've mentioned already, this is not a 0% card, but they're expecting to make money on the interest, so they could get your client approved for anywhere around $40,000 to $60,000, if not even more than that. Okay, so now we're getting an extra 40 to 60K with your client. If everything worked out correctly and you follow the steps, you've applied for the first card, and now you're applying right away for the second one. On a conservative estimate, you might have gotten maybe the 30K first time and a conservative 40 on the next. Right away, a first batch of application for your clients, you already got $70,000. Okay, but on a more like higher end, you might have gotten 50K plus 60K. So in some cases, you might get your client over $100,000 just in the space of one day because you're applying back to back, right? So this strategy is honestly huge right now. But again, why even do the Chase Inc. Preferred if it's not 0%? Well, the huge hack here with Chase is that you're actually allowed to move credit limits in between cards. You could do this on the same LLC. You can actually do this between LLCs as well, but that's not the point as of this video right now. But what you could do is that basically we're going to get approved for, let's say, the conservative 40K and 30K, or 30K the first one, 40K for the second one, and then now you can transfer the limit of the preferred onto the first Chase Inc. cash card, and now you can move that 40K and then add that to the 30. You most likely have to leave about 5 on the preferred. So now you have 30 plus 35, which is 65 at 0% for 12 months. And you still have the other 0% card available for your client. So within maybe 6 months to 12 months, you can go back to Chase. If it's not over 50% utilization, apply for the other 0% card and then transfer over the limit from the Chase Inc. cash over to the new one, and now you have a fresh new 12 months with the next card might be $30,000. So a fresh new, again, all conservative numbers, maybe just about $100,000 at 0% at Chase for your client. Okay, so how do we actually make a transfer of limits between accounts? Well, you can actually do this either online or by calling Chase. So online, you can log into the Chase accounts or do it on the mobile app. Okay, we're going to select the business card that you want to move the credit limit from, okay, the donor card. We're going to navigate to the more button if you're on the desktop, manage account if you're on the app, and then select move credit line. We're going to choose the business card to transfer the credit to, okay, the receiver card. You're going to specify the amount of the transfer, ensuring the donor card retains its minimum credit limit. So in some cases you do have to leave something. If you're moving it in between Chase Inc. 0% cards, you might be able to leave even less than this, but if it's a preferred, you usually have to leave around 5,000, but you can try to even request more. You can then submit the request, and usually they can make that switch almost instantly, but it could take up to 24 hours. If you want to call Chase to do this, it's even easier, or I guess they're both pretty easy, but if you want to call Chase, you just call the number on the back of your card, provide the last 4 digits of both cards, make the transfer, specify that you're transferring between 2 business accounts, tell them what's the donor card and the receiving card, confirm no hard inquiry will be performed, and then transfers in this case might take a couple hours to a day. But this is the overall strategy now. If you follow these steps, now you can basically forget the whole RM process at Chase and still get your clients approved for over $100,000 at Chase, in some cases all within a day. So hopefully this helps you out. If you do like these kind of hacks that we come out with, if you're curious as to how we find these new data points, and if you always want to have the latest and greatest strategies, we actually provide all these data points, all these new updates, all these changes to my clients inside of Credit Coach Academy. It's very hard to know what's going on. The funding space is always changing so rapidly. So what we do is that I collect so much data from different high-level groups that I'm in. We collectively fund over 1,000 clients a month, so we get tons of data. I'm always communicating with my business bankers. I'm applying for funding myself with my clients, so we get a lot of information, and we organize all that into a database for my clients inside of Credit Coach Academy, so you always know what's going on. We put that into a step-by-step funding sequence as well, just like my free download, The Vault. So you can check that out as well if you want to see what the free version of that looks like. But if you do want to have additional hands-on help, if you want the latest strategies working right now to get the best results for your funding clients, click on the link down below. You can learn more about my Credit Coach Academy, and we can help you one-on-one to grow your credit coaching business. But otherwise, I hope you can use the strategy inside this video to now get your next client approved for 100K and hopefully a lot more. If you get some wins, please drop a comment down below and let us know if you like this kind of video and if you're getting some wins. Otherwise, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.